Good morning. Today I'm going to do a little video that kind of shows you how I get set up and prep myself to start painting, more so than showing you actual painting. Painting could be, God, you can do 10, 20 videos. As a matter of fact, if you want to really see painting videos, I highly recommend you go to YouTube and look up, there's a guy named Tom Christie. He's one of the best. He's a world award-winning decoy carver. And he has at least 40 or 50 videos out there, from materials you need to carve, to paint, all kinds of special things that you can do with the brushes and all. It's unbelievable. I've learned something every time I've looked at one of his videos. So it's just called Tom C YouTube, or as I say, Tom Christie Decoy Videos. That'll bring it up. But that's what it looks like on a website. And again, there's about 40 or 50 videos that will show you everything you're going to ever need to paint several different types of decoys. And it's just fabulous. I mean, the guy does a great job. And again, I'm not here just to try to promote him, but he's been very valuable to me, and I've been doing it for a long time. But what I want to show you is essentially what you kind of need to get started. First thing, obviously, is, you're going to take a decoy from this to this. I mean, what a difference when you see what you can do with these things. But how do you do that? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to put a sealer on the bird. And that's so you waterproof it. It just seals it in so everything doesn't soak into the wood. And what I use for doing that is just something like this, a polyurethane stain. I get this, it's triple thick, and you just brush it all over the bird, and it really soaks in and sets that bird solid so it doesn't absorb too many things. The second thing I do is I use what you call gesso. I use Liquitex gesso, and the one I use is a clear one. And the reason I use a clear one is as you can see, drew my pattern on my decoys after I've got the sealer on it, and then I put the gesso on top. But I can see my pattern on there. And then if you notice, I got white pencil markings on there. There's things you can buy called chalk pens. And you can actually chalk them in to see just where you're going to paint. So that's another good thing. And that's just what you call a chalk pencil. It's just a pencil that looks like this. You can buy them in these hobby stores. And there's a piece of chalk, and that you can write on there. And what's nice about it is you can erase it. So if you put something on and you don't like it, you can just go like that and it'll disappear. So that's one of the simple steps right there. But as far as getting set up, you seal it, you gesso it, then you get into maybe starting to paint. Now, when I first started out, I bought, oh, God knows how many different types of paints. I must have 50, 60 different tubes of paint. Not necessary. You can get a little basic kit like this, which is essentially 12 tubes of paint, or containers of paint. You can get these at Michael's. And it has all your basics on there. The basic colors you're going to need for decoys: a light brown, a dark brown, a black, a white, a gray, yellow, red, blue, green. That's all you need, because you can make all the other colors from that. As far as what kind of brushes you use, again, and I'm not proud to say this, but I probably have over 100 brushes. My wife tells me I'm like a brush fanatic. She says every time you see brushes, you buy them. And you want to know something? I always use about only 2 or 3 of the brushes when I paint. But you can buy a little brush kit like this. It's just something real simple. It's by a company called King Art. There's several brushes in there. You get your heavier brush for putting on your regular sealers and all, and then your base coats. Then you get your narrow brushes to do your detail work. You got your fan brushes, which are spread so you can start to stipple. Now again, you can go and buy individual brushes, and you could go into Michael's and buy a set of brushes in an envelope, 8, 9, 10 brushes, and they're like $8, $9. It's ridiculous for the whole set, as opposed to going out like I did initially, where I go out and spend $20, $30 just for a brush. Not necessary. I learned that from a carver and a painter many years ago. He says, I don't buy these expensive brushes because I use them, I throw them around. When they get worse, bad, I throw them away. So what's the sense of having them? How long you're going to need these brushes? And again, I could probably pull out of my drawers over 100 brushes. Use 4 or 5 all the time. You see a little unit like this with several brushes sitting in it. I think I've used 3 or 4 of the brushes that are in there. So don't go crazy with brushes. Another thing you want to do is when you're going to paint a decoy, you always want to have good reference material. Like, for example, these are basically going to be like scalps or ring necks and all. And there's all kinds of patterns you can take off the internet or pictures. I take like, here's one out of a pattern book. Shows you the drake. The back shows you the hen. Gives you an idea of your feather layouts. You actually can get pictures from decoys that go online and just put scalp in or buffalo head in. And you can get 100 and something pictures and then just put them in your photos and save them. Now you got ideas of how other guys are doing those pictures. There's another one here where you see the pretty elaborate looking bird right there. There's a nice paint pattern here. I've got ring binders behind me on each bird, probably 15, 20 pictures of different decoys that I kind of use to kind of get myself set. And it's interesting, but like I said, you don't have to go crazy with this. And as far as me teaching you to paint, I'm literally telling you, you want to really get into it, go to this Tom Christie Decoys and look up his videos. He does several different birds from start to finish, literally. And it's just amazing. But I showed you the basic coating units that you use. And as you're wrapping up with that, like I said, you have your bird and you got your pattern on there. You can see it. You can see the pattern that's on there and you just kind of follow it. Now, you know, when you're going to do the side pockets, obviously, you're not going to take a little tiny brush and go in there 10 times. You're going to take a fairly big brush and just kind of move it in 1, 2, 3. You might be able to coat that thing in 2, 3 brushings. Same thing on the top. Then when you got to get into a little more detail, you take a little smaller brush. Like if I want to just do that wing pattern that's in here, I can take this and it's just smaller and I can just kind of work it around in there like that. Very simple, very easy. Then you take a pointed brush, like one like this, just a regular small round brush, and that's where you do your detail work. Like you can see in here, you can put real small little lines in with a brush like that. You know, you can do that kind of stuff quite easily. So small rounded brushes, 1/2 inch tapered brushes, 1 inch wash brushes. And again, you don't have to go crazy. You only need about 1 of each of those brushes. I tend to have a mess of them here. And again, probably haven't used them God knows how long. Now, one thing I found helpful to me is if you notice like on the head of that bird, you can see how it's lighter in here. And it graduates to a darker green up top and then a black on the top. And how do you do that without seeing a sharp line between green, light green, dark green, black, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I use things like this. This is simply something, a dabber for polishing shoes. It's got foam on it, right? You take something like that, you dip it in your paint, hit it on your towel so it's almost dry, and you start to baby it in like that. And it just creates nice soft edges where they almost blend into each other. You can do it on the top. You can do it on this little side section in here like that. And then when I'm done doing that, and again, it's noticeably easily soft blended. It's not hard. It's not real sharp lines. Then I take I have an atomizer I use, a little spray atomizer, and it puts some mist stuff. And I'll take that after I do that and just kind of spray it. Just let it hit it like that. Puts a little bit of moisture on there, but what the moisture does is lets those paints just blend right into each other. And what you end up with is a head that looks like that. You don't see any noticeable change of color. It's gradual. Same thing on the bill. You know, the bill is painted and then you put little specks of black in there. Maybe put some orange down along the bottom. Very, very lightly, very light, almost with no paint on the brush. And then you just kind of hit that with a spray and it'll just settle right in. Makes a difference where you just don't see a pure blue bill. You're looking at a bill and it's got black in it, it's got some little shading in it. These are things you'll learn to do. And again, use little spray bottles, use a little sponge bottle like this. You could take a little brush like this, an angled shader. What's nice with these is you can use the full width like that. See? Or you can turn it on its side and now you just got point. And that's nice when you're doing like the side pocket over here on a bird. You see how that's rounded like that over there? Well, you know, on a bird that's going to be noticeable. So you turn that brush on the side, and you start with your color back here, the darker color, and you just kind of like stroke in. And you end up with little broken pattern lines in here. So you just don't see that, you know, side pocket and then the back section. You see a little bit of a breakup in there. And again, you can go flat or you can go this way. And you could also take a brush like that and just, when you vermiculate, you can just go like that and stipple with it. You know, put black in, then turn around, then put gray in, then kind of move it around, and you almost create a marble effect. There's just a ton of things you can do. It's all, I wouldn't say easy, but it comes to you after a while. You'll be able to do it. And again, you want to create your own looking style anyway. You don't want to be replicating other people's work. I mean, but I've looked at 10 or 20 different birds whenever I'm doing one from different carvers, and I kind of create my own look. I said, well, this is what mine's going to look like. In all the different areas in the country, they're all different. I mean, it's kind of funny, but like Maryland has its own style, Maine has its own style, Delaware River has its own style, Barnegat Bay, Louisiana decoys, Western Coast Beat. Well, these birds have their own distinct look, and after a while, if you're really into it and collecting, you'll start to look at a bird and say, that's a West Coast bird, that's a Delaware River bird, that's a Barnegat Bay bird, that's from the Averdy Grace, Maryland area. And it's nice, but again, I don't do it. I do it as a collector. I don't sell my birds. I've given them away. I don't really sell them. And it's just been fun for me, but I'm not one that's out there trying to make a living doing this. And again, I'm going to tell you point blank, you want to really see painting videos, really learn how to paint, look at that Tom Christie YouTube channel and look at some of those videos he has. And when you start out, don't go crazy. Just buy yourself a basic set of paint, real simple. I think something like this sells for maybe 10 bucks at Michael's. Get yourself a set of brushes in a case like by King Art or somebody. 8, 9 brushes, maybe $8, $9, $10. Not expensive, and that's all you're gonna need. And again, it's all about how you touch with that brush, how you can go heavy, you can go light, you can dabble, you can swirl, you can do a lot of different things. Main thing is have fun doing all these things. I hope this video has been helpful to you. And again, I'm going to do a couple more on some specific painting techniques, but you're not going to see me doing a lot of actual painting on the decoys.